All right, folks. I'm just as bummed out about this as you are, of course. This was one of my favorite paintings thus far in the trip to Hawaii, and I completely forgot. I had the camera set up the entire time, and I completely forgot to hit the record button. This was the first time ever in a year and a half, or a year, something like that, that I forgot to record a plein air painting. A watercolor plein air painting. I've recorded every other single painting I've ever done, plein air, watercolor. So you guys have really seen my entire journey of painting and watercolor and doing some plein air over the past year and a half. And with this one, just forgot to turn the camera on. So sometimes that's how it goes. But I did catch like the last 5 or 6 minutes here. So you can check out what I'm doing here at the end to kind of finish it up. So I'm just adding a little bit more color on these buildings. There was some pillars and stuff, different planes. Was just showing some different values. So I'm trying to push the color a little bit. I probably could have glazed the whole entire building a little bit more. It was a very strong red. But I was trying to show like a light effect. And I think the perspective is a little bit funny on this. It's a little too exaggerated. But that was pretty much the end of that painting. So that was all the footage I got of that one, unfortunately. This was the next one I did the same day, I believe, same morning. And this was literally right across the street from the other location. This is of a giant banyan tree in Lahaina. If you ever been, any of you ever been to Maui and gone to Lahaina, this is like one of the coolest features of this little town. Everybody knows of this banyan tree. It takes up a whole block of the town. And it's really an amazing tree. So I wanted to paint this in some way. And this is the main trunk because a banyan tree has many different trunks. It's just an incredible tree. It's just so hard to explain. You'll have to look up what a banyan tree is. But this is just an incredible experience. So definitely wanted to paint this. So that's why I decided to do this morning. And this painting is mostly all in shadow. So I'm just working on really focusing this painting on the different colors that I'm seeing. And I really wanted to push the color a little bit, maybe exaggerate some of it. So you can see I'm putting warms and cools down. I guess that's what you can say I really focused on. The warms and cools and really pushing those because there was a lot of reflected light bouncing around on these different branches, growing outward. A lot of cool areas. There were some branches that were really warm. A lot of that has to do with reflected light. A lot of that has to do with just the local color of the actual tree. Some parts were just more brown. So that's something I was really focusing on for this painting. Warm versus cool, and kind of exaggerating that a little bit just so, I'm trying to capture a feeling. Obviously, I'm taking note of what's in front of me, and I am capturing that in some manner. But I also want to paint my reaction to what I'm seeing. How does it make me feel, and how can I express that feeling in color? It's something that it's so hard to teach. It's not something that it's not something that I can verbalize, I guess. I guess one way to put it is you can exaggerate colors. You can insert colors that aren't really there. Basically, maybe how would you want this to look color-wise? If you could invent your world, with this tree, like what colors would I want to see on this tree? And obviously with that can be interpreted any way you want. That could be something very exaggerated. You could create all kinds of crazy rainbow colors. But for me, I like to keep it in the scope of reality. So I just exaggerate very, very slightly. So you can see I've created a very interesting color harmony. We got these cool blues, a little bit of purple, But everything overall, it's very gray because we're in, like I said, it's all shadow, mostly shadow. So there's a lot of grays here, a lot of cools, but also in the background I have these warm buildings behind it across the street. So a little bit of red going on, but it's very grayed down. It's not super punchy. It's not distracting from the tree. And you have this nice green, yellow-green grass. You know, it's a very different harmony than most landscapes, I would say. And especially as this painting progresses, we'll see more of that. So those little circular type of strokes I was putting down there, those are kind of trunks that have been cut off. So that's what I was trying to show with that, and I'll add more detail to those as the painting progresses. So it's kind of just, you know, like a flat area of where a trunk was cut. And there's so many different branches and stuff growing here, so it was very challenging to simplify this. And that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to simplify this, but show the separation of branches and kind of the shadowing, trying to show round form to these branches. A lot of warm reflected light there. So using, you know, transparent red oxide, really boosting the browns, creating a lot of warmth. And you know, that was kind of just the first layer of color, of value, and now I'm going in with the real kind of shadow value on the ground here. And this whole thing is a tree trunk, so this tree trunk is probably, I mean, it's very big. You know, you can climb inside of this whole tree trunk on top of it. They don't want you to climb on it anymore, but when I went 3 years ago and visited this, there was kids climbing all over it and having fun, and now they have signs, thankfully, that say, no, please do not climb, no climbing. And everybody actually obeys the rule, surprisingly. But yeah, this whole big tree trunk thing, I mean, it's probably 10 or 12 feet wide. I mean, it's incredible. And it has the things that I'm drawing on now, these small kind of hanging vines. So all these branches grow out and then these vines hang down. And if given enough time, these vines end up reaching the ground and they grow into new trunks for the tree. And all these things take up a whole block, you know, all these different trunks. But I'm focusing just on the main trunk. And I'm trying to give a feeling of this banyan tree. You know, I started adding in some greenery and some of these vines, even though in person they weren't technically there. It was more of, you know, higher up in the tree and all around the other part of the tree. I really wanted to show what this tree is about, I guess. So I modified it a little bit, and I'm going to add more later on. So I'm going in with some really darker darks now, trying to establish my dark value, just so that I kind of know where I'm going with this painting, because it was so very difficult. You know, there's all these little crevices and roots growing and branches growing, as I said earlier. So simplifying simplifying a subject like this is challenging, especially on location. And I had, you know, lights changing, lights moving. I'm trying to work quickly. Oh, and one other detail about this is there was flies flying everywhere on me. They kept just landing on my legs and landing on me. And it was just very distracting doing this painting the entire time. Like every 10 seconds, I'd have a fly land on me for some reason. Underneath this tree, it's just, you know, this tree grows kind of these little inedible figs, some kind of fruit, and they just kind of fall on the ground everywhere, so it attracts all these flies. And yeah, it was very annoying, but I was able to focus and just get through this painting, luckily. So you can see there, I'm darkening up where those branches were cut off. I added some nice warm magenta red colors in there to really contrast against these cooler purples that I glazed over. Really brought down the value of the tree, the whole value of it, pushing that even further, trying to get some kind of roundness to this, some kind of shadow and form, adding in some small detail there at the bottom, showing little bits of roots growing into the ground. You know, it's a very odd subject, and I hope it comes across as some kind of giant tree. That was really my goal. So just drawing more vines here. Because as I said earlier, I'm trying to capture the vibe of this banyan tree. Maybe not exactly what was directly in front of me, but this is really what it's like being underneath this tree that takes up an entire, block of the town. This thing's been there for over 100 years. So I'm just trying to add some variety of value with these vines. Get some really dark ones in there. Let some of the light ones, fade into the background. It helps give it a little bit of depth, dimension. But pretty much this painting is just about finished, folks. So yeah, I was really happy with this one. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was helpful in some way. And here's me overworking the painting, trying to soften some kind of edge that doesn't really matter. But yeah, I hope this helped you out. Hope you enjoyed it. A few last strokes here, glazing that color. And there's the final painting. Really interesting color harmony overall. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and stay tuned for the next episode. Take care of yourself. Peace.